This isn't just going to be a story. What you're about to hear is going to stop you in your tracks, because 6 weeks ago, Catherine Miller stood face to face with the man who'd spent 5 years destroying her soul, and he gave her an impossible choice. Come home, play the good wife. Stop fighting me. Do that, and I won't destroy your boyfriend. Her voice was barely a whisper. You wouldn't. Troy Baker smiled, cold and cruel. I absolutely would. Unless you come home, tonight, and never contact him again. My people will be watching. You try to run, you try to contact Beckham, you try anything, and I'll destroy him. The twins miss you, Catherine. Lily cried all night. Leo's not eating. Come home, and you can see them again. Keep fighting, and you'll never see them again. Your choice. Now, you're probably wondering how a woman ends up trapped between the man who abused her and the billionaire who saved her life. How a chance encounter in a freezing Boston rainstorm led to this moment of impossible sacrifice. Before we get to that devastating choice Catherine had to make, you need to understand how this all began. And I promise you, by the end of this story, you'll never look at kindness the same way again. If you love stories about second chances, the courage it takes to escape abuse, and the unexpected ways love finds us. When we've given up hope, you need to subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that bell, because what happens in the second half of this story will leave you speechless. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. November 15th, Boston, a storm that would change 2 lives forever. The rain came down in sheets that night, turning the streets into rivers of freezing water. Catherine Miller crouched under a broken bus shelter, her body curved, protectively around 2 small bundles pressed against her chest. Lily and Leo, her 3-month-old twins, they whimpered weakly, too cold and hungry to even cry properly anymore. Catherine's teeth chattered so violently, she thought they might crack. The thin jacket she wore, the only one she owned, was soaked completely through. It offered no protection against the bitter November cold that cut straight to her bones. Her arms ached from holding the babies for hours, but she didn't dare loosen her grip. They were all she had left in this world. Leo coughed. It was a wet, rattling sound that terrified her more than anything. His little face was flushed with fever, burning hot against her frozen skin. His breathing came in labored gasps. She pressed her cracked lips to his burning forehead and tried not to sob. He's dying. The thought screamed through her mind like a siren. My baby is dying, and I can't save him. 4 months. She'd been running from Troy Baker for 4 months. 4 months of sleeping in shelters when they had room, in subway stations when they didn't, in doorways and under bridges when she had no other choice. 4 months of going hungry so she could afford formula for the twins. 4 months of constant terror that Troy would find them, because Troy always found her. Catherine's mind drifted back against her will, pulled into memories she'd tried desperately to bury. She hadn't always been homeless. There was a time, years ago, when she'd had dreams, when she'd been an ambitious paralegal with her whole life ahead of her, when she'd believed in happy endings. She met Troy at a charity fundraiser. He'd been charming that night, handsome in his expensive suit, with a smile that made her feel like she was the only woman in the room. He'd asked about her work, seemed genuinely interested in her opinions, made her laugh. For 3 months, he was perfect, attentive, romantic, everything she'd thought she wanted. The red flags started small. He didn't like her going out with friends. He wanted to know where she was at all times. He got angry when she didn't text back immediately, but Catherine had explained it away. He's just passionate. He loves me so much. He's protective. Then came the first time he grabbed her arm hard enough to leave bruises. She'd been talking to a male colleague at a work event. Troy had pulled her aside, his fingers digging into her flesh, his voice low and dangerous. Who was that? What were you talking about? Why were you smiling at him like that? It was just work, Troy. He's married. We were discussing a case. Don't lie to me, Catherine. I saw how you looked at him. She'd worn long sleeves for 2 weeks to hide the bruises. She told herself it was a one-time thing. He was stressed from work. He didn't mean it, but it happened again and again. The verbal abuse came next. He told her she was stupid, that she was lucky he put up with her, that no one else would ever want her. He isolated her from her friends, from her family. Slowly, methodically, he dismantled her support system until she had no one but him. The first time he hit her, really hit her, was 6 months into their marriage. She'd burned dinner. He'd backhanded her so hard she'd tasted blood, and her ear had rung for 3 days. "You made me do this. If you weren't so incompetent, I wouldn't have to teach you lessons." Catherine had left that night, packed a bag, and went to a women's shelter, but Troy found her within 48 hours. He'd shown up with flowers, with tears, with promises that he'd changed. He begged, he pleaded, he swore on everything holy that he'd never hurt her again. She'd believed him. God help her, she'd believed him. It got worse after that, because now he knew she'd tried to leave, and he couldn't let that happen again. He took control of their finances, monitored her phone, tracked her car. She became a prisoner in her own home. She tried to leave 2 more times. Once, he dragged her back by her hair in front of neighbors who pretended not to see. The 3rd time, he beat her so badly she couldn't walk for a week. After that, Catherine stopped trying. She accepted that this was her life now. She would endure. She would survive. She had no other choice. Then she got pregnant. For one beautiful, naive moment, Catherine had thought a baby might change him, might make him want to be better. She'd been so wrong. Troy's rage escalated during her pregnancy. He resented the attention she needed, the doctor's appointments, the fact that her body was changing. When she found out she was carrying twins, his fury reached new heights. 2? You're giving me 2 screaming brats to deal with? You can't even take care of yourself. But when Lily and Leo were born, Catherine felt hope for the first time in years. Looking at their tiny, perfect faces, she knew she had to find a way out. She couldn't let her children grow up watching their mother be destroyed. She couldn't let them think this was what love looked like. She filed for divorce. When the twins were 6 weeks old, she had documentation, photos of bruises, hospital records, a journal she'd kept hidden, documenting every incident. She thought, finally, she had enough evidence to escape. Troy's lawyer destroyed her in court. He painted her as an unfit mother, unstable, emotional, vindictive. Troy, with his respectable job and his clean public image, was the victim of a hysterical woman trying to steal his children. Catherine's public defender was overworked and underprepared. She didn't stand a chance. Sole custody to Mr. Baker. The judge's voice had been cold, final. Ms. Miller may have supervised visitation rights pending psychological evaluation. Catherine had stood in that courtroom, watching her babies be handed to the man who'd spent 5 years breaking her, and something inside her had shattered. She'd planned to comply, to jump through whatever hoops they demanded, to prove herself worthy of her own children. But then, Leo got sick. The heart murmur appeared suddenly. One day, he was fine. The next, he was turning blue during feedings, struggling to breathe. Catherine had begged Troy to take him to the doctor. "He's fine." Troy hadn't even looked up from his phone. "Stop being hysterical. Troy, please. Something's wrong. He needs help." He'd backhanded her so hard she'd tasted blood. "I said he's fine. You don't get to make decisions anymore, remember? I have custody." That night, while Troy was out doing whatever illegal business he did, Catherine had wrapped both babies in towels, walked out of the house, and never looked back. She'd stolen her own children, become a fugitive, a kidnapper in the eyes of the law. But Leo was alive. That was all that mattered. Except now, 4 months later, huddled under a broken bus shelter in a freezing rainstorm, Leo was dying anyway. The fever had started 3 days ago. His breathing was getting worse by the hour, and Catherine had $17 to her name. Not enough for a doctor, not enough for medicine, not enough for anything. She closed her eyes and did something she hadn't done in years. She prayed, "Please, I don't care what happens to me. Just save my babies. Please." Headlights cut through the rain. Catherine instinctively shrank back, pressing herself and the twins against the concrete pillar. Troy had private investigators looking for her. Every car could be him. Every person could be the one who recognized her and called the police. But the car, a sleek black Tesla, pulled to the curb and stopped. The back door opened, and a man stepped out into the rain. Catherine's first thought was that he looked expensive. Everything about him screamed wealth. The tailored suit that probably cost more than she'd earned in a year. The Italian leather shoes already being ruined by the rain. The watch on his wrist that could have paid for Leo's surgery 3 times over. He was tall, maybe late 30s, with dark hair that was already soaking wet. But it was his eyes that made Catherine pause. They looked sad. Even from a distance, even in the dark, she could see a bone-deep sadness in those eyes. He approached slowly, hands visible, like she was a wounded animal he didn't want to spook. "Please." His voice was gentle, barely audible over the storm. "I want to help." Catherine held the twins tighter. Her whole body was shaking now, violent tremors she couldn't control. "Stay away from us. You're freezing. Those babies." His eyes fell on Leo, and something shifted in his expression. Real concern, genuine fear. "That baby is very sick. Please, let me help you." "Why?" Catherine's voice broke. "What do you want?" "Nothing." The man took another step closer. "I want nothing except to know you're not going to die out here in the cold." Something in his eyes made Catherine want to believe him. Or maybe she was just too tired, too desperate, too broken to fight anymore. Maybe she knew deep down that if she spent another night in this storm, Leo wouldn't see morning. The man pulled off his overcoat. It was beautiful, expensive cashmere in charcoal gray. He held it out to her. "Take this. You need it more than I do." Catherine stared at the coat. It was a trap. It had to be. Men didn't help women like her without wanting something in return. She'd learned that lesson over and over on the streets. But Leo coughed again, that terrible rattling sound, and Catherine made a choice. She took the coat. "What's your name?" The man crouched down to her level, not caring that the rain was soaking through his expensive suit, that the water was ruining his shoes. "Catherine." She wrapped the coat around herself and the twins. It was still warm from his body heat. Lily made a small sound, almost like relief, as the warmth surrounded her. "Catherine Miller." "Catherine." "I'm Liam. Liam Beckham. When did you last eat?" "When did they?" Catherine's eyes filled with tears. She was so tired of being strong, of pretending she could handle this. "Yesterday. Someone gave me money for formula yesterday morning. It's gone now." Liam's face went still. Catherine saw something flash in his eyes. Anger, but not at her. Anger at a world that let babies go hungry. Anger at circumstances that put mothers in this position. And the baby who's sick. "What's his name?" "Leo." Catherine looked down at her son, at his flushed face and labored breathing. "His name is Leo, and his sister is Lily." "Catherine." Liam's voice was firm now, decisive. "I have to leave for a business trip. I'll be gone 6 weeks, maybe more. I have a house, a big house. It's empty. I want you to stay there." Catherine's head snapped up. "I can't. I don't. You don't understand." "Yes, you can." Liam reached into his pocket and pulled out a set of keys. "This is the address." He handed her a business card with an address written on the back in neat handwriting. "There's food in the refrigerator. Clean water. Everything you and these babies need. Why would you do this?" Catherine whispered. The question came out broken, disbelieving. She'd been on the streets long enough to know that help always came with a price. Liam was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was raw with old grief. "Because someone needs to. Because my wife died 2 years ago, and I have a house full of empty rooms that no one uses. Because those babies are innocent, and they shouldn't suffer. Because I can help, and that means I should help." He pressed the keys into Catherine's frozen hand. Then he pulled out his wallet and extracted a stack of bills. $800. For a cab. Food. For diapers and formula and whatever else you need right away. There's more at the house. There's a credit card in the kitchen drawer. Use it. Don't worry about the cost. Catherine stared at the money, at the keys, at this stranger who was handing her salvation like it was nothing. "I don't understand." "You don't have to understand." Liam stood, rain streaming down his face. You just have to accept. Will you? Will you take these children somewhere safe and dry? For a long moment, Catherine couldn't speak. This didn't happen. People didn't just give homeless women the keys to their mansions. There had to be a catch. There had to be something he wanted. But Leo coughed again, and Lily was so cold against her chest, and Catherine was so tired of watching her baby suffer. Yes, the word came out as a sob. Yes, thank you, God, thank you so much. Liam nodded. There's a security code for the house. It's written on the card. There's also a number for my housekeeper, Mrs. Patterson. She comes on Tuesdays and Fridays. Call her tomorrow. Tell her I sent you. She'll help you with anything you need. He started to walk back toward his car, then paused and turned back. Catherine, one more thing. There's a private doctor, Dr. Sarah Clark. Her number is also in the house, on the refrigerator. Call her tonight. As soon as you get there, tell her I sent you and that it's urgent. She'll come. She'll take care of Leo. Catherine clutched the keys so hard they cut into her palm. Why are you doing this? Really? Liam's sad eyes met hers through the rain. Because my wife would have. Because I have all the money in the world, and it couldn't save her. But maybe it can save him. He walked back to his car, and Catherine watched through tears as the Tesla pulled away, red taillights disappearing into the storm. She looked down at the keys in her hand, at the business card with an address in Beacon Hill, one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Boston. At $800, more money than she'd seen in months. Leo coughed, and Catherine made her decision. She stood on shaking legs, wrapped Liam's coat tighter around herself and the twins, and walked to the street to hail a cab. The cab driver looked at her strangely when she gave him the address. His eyes took in her wet, torn clothes, the babies wrapped in towels, the expensive coat that clearly wasn't hers. But the money in her hand was real, and that was all that mattered. The drive to Beacon Hill felt like entering another world. The streets got cleaner, the houses got bigger, the cars got more expensive. Catherine pressed her face to the window, watching mansions roll past, and wondered if this was all an elaborate dream her hypothermic brain had conjured. The cab stopped in front of a house that was huge, not just big, but enormous. White columns, tall windows that glowed warmly even though no one was home, a front door that probably cost more than Catherine had earned in her entire life. This is it, lady. The cab driver's voice was skeptical. You sure? Catherine looked at the address on the card, then at the numbers on the mailbox. They matched. I'm sure. She paid the driver with some of Liam's money, then stood on the sidewalk, staring up at the mansion. This couldn't be real. People didn't live in houses like this. People certainly didn't give the keys to houses like this to homeless women they'd met 30 minutes ago. But the key was in her hand, solid and real. And Leo was getting worse by the minute. Catherine walked up the front steps. Her hands trembled as she fitted the key into the lock. It turned smoothly, and the door opened. She stepped into a foyer larger than any apartment she'd ever lived in. The ceiling soared above her. A crystal chandelier hung in the center, catching and reflecting the light from wall sconces. The floor was marble, gleaming and perfect. Catherine carefully closed the door behind her and just stood there, dripping water onto expensive floors. She was afraid to move, afraid to touch anything, afraid this would all disappear if she breathed too hard. It's okay, baby, she whispered to Leo, who stirred against her shoulder. We're safe now. The house was quiet. Catherine walked slowly through the rooms, taking it all in. The living room had furniture that looked like art. Sofas in soft cream fabric. A coffee table made of dark wood and glass. Paintings on the walls that Catherine recognized from art history classes she'd taken years ago. The kitchen was massive. Gleaming counters stretched forever. Appliances that looked like they belonged in a restaurant. And the refrigerator. Catherine opened it with shaking hands and found it stocked. Vegetables, fruit, milk, cheese, eggs, real food. Her stomach growled. She hadn't been lying when she told Liam she'd eaten yesterday morning. Before that, it had been 2 days. But first, Leo needed help. Catherine found the number for Dr. Clark on the refrigerator, just as Liam had promised. Below it was a note in the same neat handwriting from the business card. Dr. Clark is expecting your call. Don't worry about cost. Just get the baby help. LB. Catherine's hands shook as she dialed the number. It rang twice before a woman answered. Dr. Clark speaking. Hello. Catherine's voice cracked. My name is Catherine Miller. Liam Beckham told me to call you. I have a baby. He's very sick. Where are you? Catherine gave the address. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't hang up. Tell me about the baby's symptoms. Catherine described Leo's fever, his labored breathing, the way he'd turned blue during his last feeding. Dr. Clark asked quick, efficient questions. How long had he been sick? Any previous medical conditions? When was he born? When Catherine mentioned the heart murmur that Troy had refused to treat, Dr. Clark's voice became urgent. I'm leaving now. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Keep him warm. Don't try to feed him. If his breathing gets worse, call 911 immediately. The doctor arrived in 14 minutes. She was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and capable hands. She took one look at Leo and her face became grave. How long has he had this heart condition? Since he was about 2 months old. Catherine's voice was barely a whisper. My ex-husband. He had custody. He wouldn't take him to the doctor. Dr. Clark's jaw tightened, but she didn't comment. She examined Leo with gentle efficiency, listened to his heart, checked his temperature, looked at his color. This baby has a severe congenital heart defect. He needs surgery, soon. We're talking weeks, not months. Catherine felt the world tilt. How much? The surgery? Dr. Clark looked up from her examination. At least $500,000. Maybe more depending on complications. Catherine couldn't breathe. $500,000. She might as well have said $5 billion. It was impossible. Completely, utterly impossible. I don't have that. Catherine heard her voice from far away, hollow and broken. I have $17. I can't. I'll never. Liam will cover it. Dr. Clark said it like it was obvious, like it was already decided. He can't. Catherine shook her head. He doesn't even know us. He just met us tonight. He can't pay for major surgery for a stranger's baby. Dr. Clark smiled sadly. You don't know Liam very well yet. When his wife was sick, they spent millions trying to save her. It didn't work. She died anyway. That kind of helplessness, it changes a person. She looked back at Leo. But he can save this baby. He will save this baby. Trust me. She pulled out her phone and dialed. The call was answered immediately. Liam, it's Sarah. I'm at your house. The baby boy, Leo. He has a critical heart defect. He needs surgery. At least $500,000, possibly more. Catherine heard the murmur of Liam's voice on the other end, though she couldn't make out words. I know you're about to board. I know, but I need authorization. Dr. Clark listened, then nodded. I'll make the arrangements. Mass General? Good. I'll call Dr. Morrison. He's the best pediatric cardiac surgeon in the country. Another pause. Yes, she's here. She's terrified. Do you want to? She held the phone out to Catherine. He wants to talk to you. Catherine took the phone with shaking hands. Hello? Catherine. Liam's voice was warm, despite the obvious airport noise in the background. Dr. Clark is going to arrange everything. Don't worry about the cost. Don't worry about anything except getting Leo well. Do you understand? I can't let you. Catherine's voice broke. This is too much. You've already done too much. Let me do this. Liam's voice was firm. Please, my wife and I, we wanted children. We were planning to start a family when she got sick. Then cancer took her, and I thought I'd missed my chance. Let me help Leo. Let me do this one good thing. Catherine was crying now, tears streaming down her face. Why are you so kind? Because someone needs to be. Liam paused. I have to board now. But Catherine, I'm glad I stopped. I'm glad you said yes. Take care of yourself and those babies. The line went dead. Catherine handed the phone back to Dr. Clark, her whole body shaking. He's going to pay for everything? Everything. Dr. Clark was already making notes. We'll admit Leo tomorrow. Run a full cardiac workup. Schedule surgery as soon as possible. He looked at Lily, who was asleep in Catherine's arms. What about her? She seems healthy, just hungry and cold. I'll examine her too, just to be sure. Dr. Clark's voice softened. When did you last eat, Catherine? Yesterday. After I check both babies, you're going to eat. Then you're going to sleep in a real bed. Tomorrow, we'll save Leo's life. But tonight, you rest. Okay? Catherine nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Dr. Clark examined both twins thoroughly. Lily was perfect, just underweight from irregular feedings. Leo was critical, but stable enough to wait until morning for hospital admission. She left Catherine with instructions, medications for Leo's fever, and a promise to return at 6 a.m. to transport them to Massachusetts General Hospital. After Dr. Clark left, Catherine stood in the massive kitchen and made herself a sandwich. Just bread, cheese, and some turkey she found in the refrigerator. It tasted like the best meal she'd ever eaten. Then she gave both twins bottles, formula she'd ordered delivered using. The credit card she'd found exactly where Liam said it would be. They drank hungrily, and Catherine's heart broke all over again at how desperately hungry they'd been. She found a bedroom upstairs, not the master. That felt too invasive. A smaller room at the end of the hall with a comfortable bed and windows overlooking a garden. There was a bathroom attached with a huge tub and soft towels. Catherine gave the twins a bath in the sink, marveling at the clean, warm water that came from the tap. Her babies cooed and splashed, happier than she'd seen them in weeks. She dried them with towels so soft they felt like clouds, dressed them in clean onesies from the emergency supplies that had been delivered. Then Catherine did something she hadn't been able to do in 4 months. She took a hot shower. The water ran over her, washing away weeks of street dirt and rain and desperation. She washed her hair 3 times with expensive shampoo that smelled like flowers. She stood under the spray until the water ran cold, letting herself feel clean for the first time in so long. When she stepped out, she wrapped herself in a towel that was thick and warm. She had no clean clothes except a spare shirt in her bag, so she put that on, and washed her jeans and jacket in the bathroom sink, hanging them to dry. Then she climbed into the bed with both twins nestled in a nest of pillows beside her. The sheets were clean and soft. The room was warm. Her babies were fed and safe. Catherine lay there in the quiet house and felt something she hadn't felt in so long she'd almost forgotten what it was like. She'd been so focused on survival, on just making it through one more day, that she'd forgotten what it felt like to hope that tomorrow might be better than today. Tears slid down her face, but they weren't tears of despair. They were tears of relief, of gratitude, of disbelief that a stranger's kindness had given her this moment of peace. "Thank you," she whispered into the darkness, to Liam, wherever he was, to God, if he was listening, to the universe that had finally given her a break. "Thank you." She fell asleep with her hand on Leo's chest, feeling his heartbeat, irregular and struggling but still fighting. Tomorrow, they would fix that heart. Tomorrow, they would save him. But tonight, for the first time in 4 months, Catherine Miller slept without fear. The next morning arrived with pale November sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. Catherine woke disoriented, taking several seconds to remember where she was. Then it all came back. The storm, Liam, the mansion, Dr. Clark, Leo's surgery. She sat up quickly, checking the twins. Both were still sleeping, their breathing steady. Leo's fever had broken during the night, though his color was still poor. Lily looked better already, just from one night of warmth and food. Catherine's phone, which she'd charged overnight, showed 5:47 a.m. Dr. Clark would be here soon. She needed to get ready. She found her jeans and jacket still damp but wearable. Put them on despite the clammy feeling. Gathered the few belongings she had. Fed the twins one more bottle before they left for what she knew would be a long day. Dr. Clark arrived at exactly 6 a.m., punctual and efficient. She had a car seat already installed in her vehicle. "Ready?" she asked Catherine gently. "As I'll ever be." The drive to Mass General was quiet. Catherine sat in the back seat between the twins, holding their tiny hands. This surgery could save Leo's life, or it could be the last time she saw him alive. Both possibilities felt equally real. The hospital. Things moved quickly. Dr. Clark had arranged everything. They were expected. A team of nurses whisked Leo away for pre-op testing. Catherine had to fill out forms, medical history, consent for surgery. That's when she realized the problem. "I can't use my real name," she told Dr. Clark in a panicked whisper. "If this goes into the system, my ex-husband will find us. He has connections. He'll know we're here." Dr. Clark didn't even hesitate. "What name do you want to use?" Catherine thought fast. "Miller, Sophie Miller. And the baby is—" She scrambled for a name. James Miller." Dr. Clark made a note. "Done. As far as the hospital knows, you're Sophie Miller, and this is your son James. The bills will go to Liam's private account. Nothing will be traceable to you." Catherine felt weak with relief. "Thank you." The cardiac surgeon, Dr. Morrison, met with them before the surgery. He was older, with gray hair and steady hands. He explained the procedure in terms Catherine barely understood. Septal defect, pulmonary stenosis, open heart surgery on an infant, risks including death. Catherine signed the consent form with shaking hands. They took Leo away at 8:30 a.m. Catherine watched them wheel his tiny body toward the surgical wing, and her knees buckled. Dr. Clark caught her. "He's going to be okay." Dr. Clark's voice was firm. "Dr. Morrison is the best. Leo is young, strong. He's going to be okay." Catherine wanted to believe her. The surgery took 7 hours. 7 hours of Catherine pacing the waiting room, Lily in her arms. 7 hours of watching the clock, of jumping every time a door opened, of praying to a God she wasn't sure was listening. Liam called 3 times from Dubai. Each time, Catherine updated him. Each time his voice was calm, reassuring, anchoring her when she felt like she might fly apart. "He's going to make it, Catherine," Liam said during the 3rd call, around hour 5. "I can feel it. He's a fighter, like his mother." "How do you know I'm a fighter?" Catherine asked. "Because you're still here. You could have given up 1,000 times, but you didn't. You kept those babies safe. You accepted help even though it terrified you. That's what fighters do." At 3:47 p.m., Dr. Morrison emerged from the surgical wing. Catherine stood so fast she nearly dropped Lily. The surgery was successful. Dr. Morrison pulled down his mask, and he was smiling. "We repaired the septal defect and opened the pulmonary valve. His heart is beating strong. He's in recovery now. The next 24 hours are critical, but I'm optimistic." Catherine collapsed into a chair, sobbing with relief. Dr. Clark took Lily from her arms, and Catherine just cried. Great, heaving sobs of gratitude and exhaustion and disbelief that Leo was alive, that they'd fixed his heart, that maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. They let her see him an hour later. Leo looked so small in the hospital bed, tubes and wires everywhere, but his chest rose and fell steadily. The monitors showed a heartbeat that was regular, strong. Catherine stood beside his bed and placed her hand gently on his tiny foot, the only part of him not covered in bandages or attached to machines. "You did it, baby," she whispered. "You're so brave, so strong. Mama's here. Mama's not going anywhere." She stayed in that hospital room for 3 days while Leo recovered. The hospital provided a cot. Dr. Clark brought Lily by twice a day so Catherine could feed her and spend time with her, but Lily stayed at Liam's mansion with Mrs. Patterson, the housekeeper who'd appeared on day 2 with supplies, food, and kind words. Mrs. Patterson was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and warm eyes. She took one look at Catherine's exhausted face and pulled her into a hug. "Mr. Beckham called me, told me what's happening. You don't worry about a thing, dear. I'll take care of your little girl. You focus on your boy." Catherine had started to protest, but Mrs. Patterson cut her off. "I raised 4 children of my own. Helped raise Mr. Beckham's wife when she was young. I know what I'm doing, and that baby needs you here, not worrying about her sister." So Catherine stayed. She slept in a chair beside Leo's bed, woke every time a monitor beeped, watched nurses check his vitals every 2 hours. Slowly, gradually, Leo improved. On day 4, they moved him out of intensive care. On day 5, They removed some of the tubes. On day 7, Catherine got to hold him for the first time since surgery. He felt different in her arms, stronger. His breathing was clear, unlabored. His color was better. He looked at her with alert eyes and made a small sound, almost like he was saying hello. "Hi, baby," Catherine whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Hi, my beautiful boy." Dr. Morrison discharged them on day 10. Leo still needed follow-up care, medications, monitoring, but he was stable enough to leave the hospital. Mrs. Patterson picked them up in Liam's car. Catherine sat in the back seat with both twins, overwhelmed with gratitude. 10 days ago, she'd been homeless and hopeless. Now her son had a repaired heart. Both her babies were healthy, and she was going back to a mansion that felt more like home than anywhere she'd lived in years. When they arrived, Mrs. Patterson had prepared the bedroom Catherine had used that first night, but she'd added a crib for the twins, a changing table, supplies. Everything babies could need. "I hope this is okay," Mrs. Patterson said. "Mr. Beckham said to get whatever you needed." "If there's anything else," Catherine couldn't speak. She just hugged Mrs. Patterson and cried. Over the next few weeks, a routine developed. Mrs. Patterson came every day, helping with the twins, teaching Catherine things she'd never learned: how to establish a sleep schedule, how to tell different cries apart, how to care for Leo post-surgery. Catherine was terrified at first, terrified she was imposing, terrified Liam would change his mind, terrified Troy would find them. But days turned into weeks, and nothing bad happened. Liam called every few days from Dubai. His business trip kept extending. "Complications with the acquisition," he explained. "Could be another month, maybe more. Is that okay?" He always asked, "You staying there?" "If you don't mind." Catherine always answered, "I don't mind. In fact, it makes me happy knowing the house isn't empty, that someone's living in it instead of just existing." During one call, 3 weeks after Leo's surgery, Liam asked about her plans. "Have you thought about what comes next?" "After I get back?" Catherine had thought about it constantly. "I need to get a job, find an apartment, get back on my feet." "And your ex-husband?" Liam's voice was careful. "Is he still a threat?" Catherine's blood went cold. She hadn't told Liam the full truth yet. Hadn't told him about the custody battle, about being a fugitive, about the warrant for her arrest. "It's complicated," she said quietly. "Most important things are." Liam paused. "Catherine, I'm not trying to pry, but if you need help, legal help, or any other kind, I want you to know I'm here." "Why?" The question burst out before Catherine could stop it. "Why are you being so kind to me? You don't even know me." Liam was quiet for so long, Catherine thought the call had dropped. Then he spoke, and his voice was raw. "After my wife died, I stopped caring about anything. I went through the motions, made money, built the company, but I felt nothing. Then I saw you in that storm, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt something. Compassion, purpose, like maybe I could still do some good in the world. You gave me that, Catherine. You and those babies. You reminded me what it feels like to be human." Catherine's throat was tight. "I didn't do anything. You accepted help. Do you know how rare that is? Most people are too proud, too scared. But you put your children first. You said yes, even though it terrified you. That takes courage." After they hung up, Catherine sat in the quiet mansion and admitted something to herself. She was falling in love with Liam Beckham, this man she'd never met in person beyond that one rainy night, this man who called from halfway around the world to check on her babies, this man who'd saved Leo's life without hesitation. It was dangerous to love him. Catherine knew that. She was still legally married to Troy, still a fugitive, still carrying trauma that would take years to heal. And Liam was still grieving his wife, still processing his loss. But her heart didn't care about logic. It knew what it wanted. 6 weeks after that night in the storm, Liam finally came home. Catherine had been nervous all day. Mrs. Patterson had helped her clean the house from top to bottom, even though it was already spotless. Catherine changed clothes 3 times, trying to find something that didn't make her look like the desperate homeless woman he'd helped. She'd gained weight in the past 6 weeks. Good weight, healthy weight from regular meals. Her hair was clean and shiny. The bruises from sleeping rough had faded. She looked like herself again, or a version of herself she'd thought was lost forever. Liam's flight landed at 2 p.m. He texted that he'd be home by 3. Catherine waited in the living room, the twins playing on a blanket at her feet. Leo was thriving now, 6 weeks post-surgery. His color was good, his breathing clear, his energy boundless. Lily was happy and healthy, babbling and reaching for everything. At 3:15, Catherine heard a key in the lock. Her heart hammered. This was it. The moment she'd find out if the past 6 weeks had been real or if it would all disappear now that Liam was back. The door opened, and there he was. Liam looked different than Catherine remembered. Older maybe, or just more tired. There were shadows under his eyes. His suit was rumpled from the long flight, but when he saw her, his face transformed. He smiled, and it was like the sun coming out. Catherine. He set down his suitcase. You're here. You said I could stay. Catherine stood, suddenly nervous. If you want us to leave. No. Liam crossed the room quickly. No, I don't want you to leave. He stopped in front of her, close enough that she could see gold flecks in his brown eyes. I was afraid you wouldn't be here, that you'd have moved on. Where would I go? Catherine asked softly. Liam's eyes moved to the twins. And these are Lily and Leo. Catherine picked up Leo, who reached for Liam immediately. Leo, this is Liam. He's the reason you're alive. Liam took Leo carefully, like he was made of glass. Hey, buddy, look at you. So healthy, so strong. Leo grabbed Liam's nose and giggled. Liam laughed, and the sound was pure joy. He likes you, Catherine said. Liam looked at her over Leo's head. I like him too, both of them. And you. Something passed between them in that moment, something neither of them was ready to name. But it was there, undeniable and growing. Catherine, Liam's voice was serious now. We need to talk. About your situation, about what happens next. I know. Catherine took a shaky breath. And I need to tell you the truth. All of it. You deserve to know what you've gotten yourself into. That night, after the twins were asleep, Catherine told Liam everything. She told him about Troy's abuse. Every detail, every scar. She told him about the custody battle she'd lost. About being declared an unfit mother by a judge who'd never asked about the bruises. She told him about stealing her own children and becoming a fugitive. About the warrant for her arrest, the kidnapping charges, the fact that if Troy found her, she'd go to prison and the twins would go back to him. Liam listened without interrupting. His face got harder with every revelation, his jaw tighter. When Catherine finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said 4 words that changed everything. I'm going to help you. Liam, you can't. Catherine shook her head. Troy is dangerous. He has connections. If you go after him, then I go after him. Liam's voice was steel. Catherine, you're not running anymore. We're going to fight this legally. We're going to get you your children back, properly, through the courts. The courts already failed me, because you had a public defender and Troy had expensive lawyers. Liam leaned forward. Now you have me, and I have the best legal team in Boston. We're going to build a case so airtight no judge can ignore it. Documentation of abuse, medical records showing Leo's neglect, character witnesses, everything. Catherine wanted to believe him, but hope was dangerous. It hurt too much when it died. Troy will fight dirty. Let him. Liam's eyes were fierce. I can fight dirty too when I need to. And Catherine, I'm not doing this to control you, or because I expect anything in return. I'm doing this because it's right, because those babies deserve their mother, because you deserve to be free. Why do you care so much? Catherine whispered. Because I see you, Liam said simply. I see how you fight for your kids. I see your strength, and I see that you deserve so much better than what life's given you. Let me help, please. Catherine looked at this man who'd given her everything, who'd saved Leo's life, who'd opened his home without hesitation, who was offering to fight her battles when he had nothing to gain. "Okay," she said. "Okay, we'll fight." Liam smiled. "Good. We start tomorrow, but tonight, you rest. You're safe here, Catherine. I promise." And for the first time in years, Catherine believed she actually was. If you're feeling the weight of Catherine's journey right now, I want you to do something for me. Drop a comment telling me what you're thinking. And if you know someone who needs to hear a story about courage and second chances, share this video with them. We're only halfway through this story, and what happens next is going to test everything Catherine and Liam have built together. Don't go anywhere. The next morning, Liam made calls. Within hours, Catherine was sitting in a conference room at one of Boston's most prestigious law firms, surrounded by lawyers who specialized in family law and domestic violence cases. The lead attorney was a woman named Jennifer Martinez. She was in her 40s, sharp-eyed and no-nonsense. She listened to Catherine's story without flinching, taking notes on a legal pad. When Catherine finished, Jennifer looked up. "This is winnable. Troy Baker manipulated the system, but we can expose that. The fact that he refused medical treatment for Leo, that's medical neglect. That alone could get the custody ruling overturned. But I kidnapped them." Catherine's voice was small. "Legally, I'm a criminal. You were protecting your child from imminent harm." Jennifer's voice was firm. "Any reasonable parent would have done the same thing. We'll argue necessity. We'll show that Leo would have died without intervention. We have medical records proving that now." "What about the abuse?" Liam asked from where he sat beside Catherine. "Can we use that?" "If we can document it." Jennifer looked at Catherine. "Do you have photos? Medical records? Police reports?" Catherine shook her head. "I never went to the police. I was too afraid. And I stopped going to the hospital after a while because Troy would get angry about the bills." "Do you have anyone who witnessed the abuse? Friends? Family? Neighbors?" "My mother," Catherine said quietly. "We were estranged for years because Troy isolated me from her. But she knew. She tried to help a few times. He threatened her too. We'll depose her." Jennifer made a note. "Anyone else?" "There was a neighbor. Mrs. Chen. She lived next door. She saw him drag me back into the house once when I tried to leave. She saw bruises. We'll find her." "What about documentation from the first custody hearing? We can subpoena those records, show how Troy's lawyers manipulated the narrative. They spent 3 hours going over every detail of Catherine's marriage, the abuse, the custody battle, her time on the streets. It was exhausting, forcing Catherine to relive her worst moments. But Jennifer was relentless, and Catherine understood why. Every detail mattered. Every piece of evidence could make the difference. "This is going to take time," Jennifer said at the end of the meeting. "Months, probably. We need to build an airtight case before we file. Because once we do, Troy will know where you are. He'll come for you." Catherine felt ice in her veins. "How long do I have?" 3 months minimum, maybe 6. Jennifer looked at Liam. "In the meantime, she needs to stay hidden. No social media. No contact with anyone from her old life except witnesses we clear. And she needs protection." "I'll handle it," Liam said immediately. "She and the twins stay with me. I'll hire security." After the meeting, Catherine and Liam sat in his car in the parking garage. Catherine was shaking. "This is real," she whispered. "We're really doing this. We're really doing this," Liam confirmed. "Are you scared?" "Terrified." "Me too," he admitted. "But Catherine, I meant what I said. I'm not leaving you to fight this alone." She looked at him, at this man who'd become her anchor. "Why? Why are you doing all this?" Liam was quiet for a moment. "After Brittany died, I felt guilty every single day. Guilty that I wasn't there. Guilty that all my money couldn't save her. Guilty that I was still alive and she wasn't." He turned to face Catherine. "Helping you, it's giving me purpose again. It's letting me use what I have to actually make a difference. You're not a burden, Catherine. You're a gift." Catherine's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know how to repay you for everything. You don't have to repay me. Just let me help. That's all I need. Over the next 2 months, Catherine settled into life at Liam's mansion, but it felt different now. She wasn't a guest anymore. She was part of the household. She had responsibilities, a routine, a purpose. Mrs. Patterson taught her to cook, using the gourmet kitchen. Catherine started making meals for her and Liam, family dinners they'd eat together, while the twins sat in high chairs, making messes and learning to eat solid foods. Liam cut back on his work hours. He worked from home more often, spending time with Catherine and the twins. He taught Leo to clap. He made Lily laugh by making funny faces. He was present in a way Catherine had never experienced with a man before. They had late-night conversations in the living room after the twins were asleep, talking about everything, their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Liam told her about Brittany, about their love story, about the guilt that still haunted him. "I keep thinking if I'd just been home that night," he said during one conversation. "If I'd canceled the London trip, she'd still be alive." "You can't know that," Catherine said gently. "The people who killed her, they were determined. If not that night, then another night." Liam looked at her sharply. "Killed her?" "The police said it was a robbery gone wrong." Catherine realized what she'd said. "I just meant, whoever broke in, they killed her. That's still murder, even if it wasn't premeditated." Liam nodded slowly, but something in his eyes had shifted, like Catherine had planted a seed of doubt he couldn't ignore. On a Tuesday morning, 6 weeks after Liam came home, Catherine woke to find both twins running fevers. Not dangerously high, but enough to worry her. She called Dr. Clark, who came by that afternoon. "Just a cold," Dr. Clark assured her after examining both babies. "Common at this age. Keep them hydrated. Monitor the fevers. They'll be fine in a few days." But that night, Leo's fever spiked to 103. Catherine sat up with him, giving him medication, cooling him with damp cloths. Liam found her at 2 a.m., rocking Leo in the nursery. "How is he?" Liam's voice was rough with sleep. "Fever's still high." Catherine's voice shook. "I know Dr. Clark said it's just a cold, but what if it's his heart? What if something's wrong?" "His heart is fine." Liam sat down beside her. "But I can call Dr. Clark again if you want. Or we can take him to the emergency room." Catherine looked at Leo's flushed face. "Maybe I'm overreacting. You're being a good mother. You're being cautious. There's nothing wrong with that." At 3 a.m., Leo's fever broke. He fell into a peaceful sleep, and Catherine finally let herself relax. "You should sleep," Liam said. "I'll watch him. You need sleep too." "I'm not tired." Liam took Leo gently. "Rest. I've got him." Catherine was too exhausted to argue. She went to her room and collapsed into bed. When she woke 6 hours later, she found Liam asleep in the rocking chair, Leo sleeping peacefully in his arms. Her heart did something complicated in her chest. This man who'd been a stranger 2 months ago was holding her son like he was precious, like he mattered, like he was loved. Catherine pulled out her phone and took a picture. Then, she carefully lifted Leo from Liam's arms and put him in the crib. When she turned back, Liam was awake, watching her. "Sorry, I didn't mean to fall asleep." He stood, stretching. "How is he?" "Better. Fever's gone." Catherine smiled. "Thank you for staying with him. Any time." Liam's voice was soft. "I mean that. Any time." They stood there in the soft morning light, filtering through the nursery windows, and something shifted between them. The air felt charged, heavy with unspoken feelings. "Catherine." Liam took a step closer. "I need to tell you something." Her heart raced. "Okay, these past 2 months, having you here, having the twins here, it's changed everything for me. This house feels like a home again. I feel alive again. And He stopped, searching for words. "I care about you, more than I should, more than is probably appropriate given our situation." Catherine's breath caught. "I care about you too, but I don't want to pressure you," Liam said quickly. "You're still healing from trauma. You're still legally married. You're dependent on me for housing and legal help. There's a power imbalance here, and I don't want to take advantage of that. You're not." Catherine stepped closer. "Liam, You've never made me feel obligated to you. You've never asked for anything in return. That's why I—" She stopped, afraid to say it. "Why you what? Why I'm falling in love with you." The words came out in a rush. "I know I shouldn't. I know it's too soon and too complicated, and probably a terrible idea, but I can't help it. You make me feel safe. You make me feel valued. You're showing my children what a good man looks like. How am I supposed to not fall in love with that?" Liam's eyes were intense. "I'm falling in love with you too. Have been since that night in the rain. But Catherine, I need you to be sure. I need you to know that I'll support you, whether we're together or not. You don't owe me anything. I know, and that's exactly why I want this." Catherine reached up and touched his face. "You don't demand. You don't control. You don't take. You give, freely, without expecting anything back. You're the opposite of everything I've known." Liam leaned into her touch. "I don't want to rush you. You're not. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you." He kissed her then, gentle, careful, giving her every chance to pull away. But Catherine didn't pull away. She leaned in, kissing him back, pouring 2 months of growing feelings into that kiss. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. "I want to do this right," Liam said. "I want to court you properly, take you on dates, let this grow naturally. We're living together and raising twins." Catherine laughed. "I think we've skipped a few steps already." "Fair point." Liam smiled. "But still, I want you to be sure, so let's take this slow. See where it goes." "Okay," Catherine agreed. Slow. But that night, as they said goodnight outside her bedroom door, Liam kissed her again. And it didn't feel slow at all. It felt like falling, terrifying, and exhilarating all at once. Over the next few weeks, they navigated their new relationship carefully. Stolen kisses when the twins were napping, holding hands during late-night conversations, learning each other in small, intimate ways. Liam took Catherine on their first official date. Mrs. Patterson watched the twins, and Liam took Catherine to a small Italian restaurant in the North End. They talked for hours, laughing and sharing stories. It felt normal in the best way, like they were just a couple falling in love, not two broken people finding healing together. On their second date, they went to an art museum. Liam watched Catherine more than the paintings, smiling at the way she got excited about the Impressionist section. "You love art." He observed. "I used to," Catherine said. "Before Troy, I'd spend hours in museums." He hated it, said it was a waste of time. "It's not a waste of time." Liam took her hand. "We'll come here whenever you want." By their third date, Catherine realized something. She was happy. Actually, genuinely happy. For the first time in 6 years, she wasn't afraid. Wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. Wasn't walking on eggshells. She was just living. And it was beautiful. But happiness, Catherine had learned, was always temporary. And the past always caught up. The private investigator found them on a Wednesday morning in late January, 3 months after that night in the rain. Catherine was playing with the twins in Liam's garden when a man approached the gate. "Catherine Miller, I'm serving you with papers." Catherine's blood turned to ice. The envelope in his hand felt like a death sentence. Within an hour, Troy arrived. He had 2 police officers with him, and a smug smile that made Catherine want to run. "Hello, sweetheart." Troy's voice was smooth, dangerous. "Time to come home." Catherine backed away, instinctively putting herself between Troy and the twins. "No, I'm not going anywhere with you. You don't have a choice." Troy gestured to the papers the investigator had served. "Court order. I have custody. You kidnapped my children." He looked at the police officers. "She's violated a court order. Arrest her." "Wait." Liam appeared from the house, his voice commanding. "She's not going anywhere until we can arrange legal representation." Troy's eyes slid to Liam, cold and assessing. "And you are?" "Liam Beckham. This is my home." "Ah." The billionaire. Troy's smile sharpened into something vicious. Catherine always did like rich men. "Tell me, Mr. Beckham, are you aware you're harboring a fugitive?" "I'm aware she's a mother protecting her children from an abusive father." Troy's face darkened. Careful. You don't know what you're involving yourself in. Then enlighten me. One of the police officers stepped forward before things could escalate. Ma'am, you need to surrender the children. The court order is valid. Catherine looked at Liam desperately. She can't. I'm afraid she has to. The officer's voice was almost sympathetic. If she doesn't comply, we'll have to arrest her for contempt. Catherine's world was ending. She looked down at Lily and Leo, at their innocent faces, at the son whose heart Liam had saved, at the daughter who'd just learned to wave. She couldn't do this, couldn't hand them over to Troy, but if she fought, she'd be arrested, and they'd take the twins anyway. Liam, her voice broke, we'll get them back. Liam's eyes were fierce. I promise, Catherine, we'll get them back. With shaking hands, Catherine picked up both twins. They sensed her distress and started to cry. She kissed their foreheads, their cheeks, breathing in their baby smell. Mama loves you, she whispered. So much. I'm going to come get you. I promise. Troy stepped forward and took Leo from her arms. Then, Lily. The twins started screaming, reaching for Catherine. Mama. Mama, Lily cried. It was one of her first words, and hearing it in this context broke Catherine completely. No. Catherine lunged forward, but Liam caught her, held her back. Please, please, don't take them. Troy smiled, cruel and triumphant. You did this to yourself, Catherine. All you had to do was obey. He walked toward his car, the twins screaming and reaching back toward Catherine and Liam. Catherine collapsed, her legs giving out. Liam lowered her to the ground and held her while she screamed. The sound of Troy's car driving away was the worst sound Catherine had ever heard. She stayed on the ground long after the car was gone, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. Liam held her, and she could feel that he was crying too. We'll get them back. He kept saying, I promise, we'll get them back. But Catherine had lived through too much to believe in promises anymore. That night was the worst of Catherine's life. Worse than the beatings. Worse than the homelessness. Worse than anything. Because Lily and Leo were with Troy, and she wasn't there to protect them. She called Jennifer Martinez, the lawyer, who promised to file an emergency motion, but it would take time. Days, maybe weeks. Catherine couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. She paced the mansion, jumping every time her phone made a sound, hoping for news. Liam stayed by her side. He made calls, activated his legal team, hired a security firm to monitor Troy's house, make sure the twins were okay. But it wasn't enough. Nothing would be enough until they were home. On the second day, Troy returned. Alone, Liam was at his office, and Catherine was packing her meager belongings, planning to leave before she brought more disaster into his life. Troy let himself in through the front door like he owned the place. He gave you a key? Troy's voice was mocking. How domestic. Catherine spun around, her heart hammering. What do you want? To talk. Troy walked through Liam's house, touching expensive things with casual disregard. Nice place. Your boyfriend has excellent taste. He's not my boyfriend. He's just someone who helped me. Is that what we're calling it? Troy turned to face her, and Catherine saw the rage simmering beneath his calm exterior. You humiliated me, Catherine. Took my children, made me look like a fool. Did you really think I wouldn't find you? Leo needed surgery. You were going to let him die. I was teaching you a lesson about defying me. Troy stepped closer. Everything that's happened, the custody battle, the court ruling, your homelessness, it's all because you wouldn't obey. If you'd just been a good wife, none of this would have happened. Catherine had heard this speech 1,000 times. The blame, the gaslighting, the twisted logic that made her responsible for his abuse. Leave, she said quietly, forcing strength into her voice. You have the twins. That's what you wanted. Just leave me alone. I can't do that. See, you've created a new problem. Troy pulled out his phone, showed her photos. Photos of her and Liam together. In the hospital. In his home. In the garden. This looks bad, Catherine. Looks like you've been playing house with a billionaire while neglecting our children. My lawyers are going to have a field day. That's not... We didn't. Catherine's voice shook. Doesn't matter what's true. Matters what I can make a judge believe. Troy pocketed his phone. But here's the thing. I'm willing to be reasonable. Come home. Play the good wife. Stop fighting me. Do that. And I won't destroy your boyfriend. What? Troy smiled, cold and calculated. Liam Beckham. Self-made billionaire. Squeaky clean reputation. Philanthropist. Beloved by the business community. He paused for effect. I know people who can make that reputation disappear. I know judges who can tie his company up in investigations. I know reporters who can plant stories about him harboring fugitives, interfering with custody agreements, inappropriate relationships with unstable women. Catherine's stomach dropped. You wouldn't. I absolutely would. Unless you come home tonight and never contact him again. Troy, my people will be watching. Troy headed for the door, then paused. You try to run, you try to contact Beckham, you try anything, and I'll destroy him. Oh, and Catherine. The twins miss you. Lily cried all night. Leo's not eating. Come home, and you can see them again. Keep fighting, and you'll never see them again. Your choice. He left, and Catherine sank to the floor, her whole body shaking. Troy had her trapped. Again, always, if she stayed with Liam, Troy would destroy him, would use his criminal connections to dismantle everything Liam had built. And Liam, kind, grieving Liam who'd already lost so much, didn't deserve to be collateral damage in her war with Troy. But if she went back, she'd be condemning herself and the twins to a life of abuse. Leo might not survive without proper medical care. Lily would grow up watching her mother be destroyed. Catherine looked around Liam's beautiful home, the first place she'd felt safe in years, and knew what she had to do. She had to leave, had to protect Liam the only way she could. She had to go back to Troy. Catherine sat at Liam's desk and wrote him a letter. Her hands shook so badly she could barely hold the pen. Liam, I'm sorry. I have to go back. Troy threatened to destroy you, and I can't let that happen. You've given me more than I can ever repay. You saved Leo's life. You gave us safety when we had nothing. You made me remember what kindness looks like. Please don't come after me. Please don't try to find me. This is my choice, and I'm making it to protect you. You deserve happiness. You deserve peace. Find it. Move on. Forget about the broken woman and her babies you found in a storm. Thank you for everything. I'll love you forever. Catherine. She folded the note with shaking hands and left it on his desk where he'd find it. Then she called Troy to tell him she was coming home. An hour later, Troy picked her up. He didn't say anything during the drive, just smiled that cold, victorious smile that made Catherine's skin crawl. Back at his house, the house that had been her prison for 5 years, Troy laid out the rules. You don't leave without my permission. You don't have a phone. You don't speak to anyone without me present. You sleep in the guest room until I decide you've earned our bed back. And you're pleasant. Always pleasant. Understand? Catherine nodded, her spirit already breaking. Good girl. Troy patted her cheek, and Catherine flinched. Don't worry. If you behave, you'll get to see the twins tomorrow. For an hour. An hour. After spending every day with them for 3 months, she'd get 1 hour. But it was better than nothing. So Catherine nodded and went to the guest room Troy indicated. It was small, sparse, with a lock on the outside of the door. She was a prisoner again. That night, locked in her room as punishment for some imagined offense, Catherine pressed her face against the window and looked at the stars. I'm sorry, Liam, she thought. I'm so sorry I brought this into your life. Please forget about me. Please be happy. She didn't know that at that exact moment, Liam was reading her letter, his heart breaking, and making a decision that would change everything. Liam found Catherine's note when he returned from the office that evening. He read it once, twice, 3 times, his hands trembling. Then he did something he hadn't done since Brittany's funeral. He cried, great, heaving sobs that tore from his chest, because Catherine was gone, because she'd sacrificed herself to protect him, because he'd lost another woman he loved. But then, through the grief, came rage. Cold, focused rage. Troy Baker had taken everything, had abused Catherine for years, had nearly let Leo die, had manipulated the courts, and now he'd used threats to force Catherine back into captivity. Liam picked up his phone and made a call. "I need everything on Troy Baker," he told his head of security. "Criminal connections, business dealings, every dirty secret he's hiding. I don't care how long it takes or what it costs. Find it all." "Sir," his security chief's voice was careful, "if this man is as dangerous as you say, I don't care." Liam's voice was steel. "I lost my wife because I wasn't there to protect her. I'm not losing Catherine too." Over the next 2 weeks, Liam's team worked around the clock. They followed money trails, interviewed witnesses, dug into Troy's background, and what they found was explosive. Troy Baker wasn't just an abuser. He was a mid-level player in a major organized crime syndicate run by a man named Victor Castillo. The organization laundered money through real estate, extorted businesses, trafficked weapons, but the discovery that made Liam's blood run cold came from an unexpected source. A witness who'd been too afraid to come forward 2 years ago. A woman who'd been working at a free clinic in a bad neighborhood. A woman who'd seen something the night Brittany was killed. Liam sat in a coffee shop across from Maria Santos, his hands clenched on the table. "Tell me what you saw," he said. Maria's hands shook as she spoke. "I was closing up the clinic. It was late, maybe 10 p.m. I heard voices in the alley behind the building. Angry voices. I looked out, and I saw 3 men. They were arguing with someone. I couldn't see who at first." "Go on." "Then I saw her." Maria's voice dropped. "Your wife, Mrs. Beckham. She volunteered at our clinic sometimes. I recognized her. She was backing away from the men, her hands up. I heard her say, 'I won't tell anyone.' I didn't see anything." Liam's heart stopped. "She saw something? I think she witnessed some kind of meeting. A deal, maybe. The men were scared she'd identify them. One of them." Maria's voice broke. "One of them pulled out a gun. I should have done something. Should have called 911. But I was terrified. I just watched. What happened next? He shot her. Just shot her right there in the alley. Then they moved her. Put her in a car. I found out later they staged it to look like a home invasion." Maria was crying now. "I'm so sorry. I was too afraid to come forward. Victor Castillo owns half the police in that precinct. I knew if I talked, I'd be next." "Victor Castillo." Liam's voice was hollow. "You're sure?" "I saw him. He was one of the 3 men. And," Maria hesitated, "there was another man. Younger. I didn't know him then, but I've seen his picture since. In the news. Troy Baker. Troy Baker was there when they killed my wife." "Yes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Liam sat back, his mind reeling. Troy hadn't just abused Catherine, hadn't just threatened him. Troy was connected to the organization that had murdered Brittany. The woman Liam loved was being held prisoner by people connected to his wife's killers. He stood abruptly. "Thank you for coming forward. What are you going to do?" "Get justice." Liam's voice was grim. "For Brittany, for Catherine, for everyone Victor Castillo and Troy Baker have hurt." 2 days later, Liam walked into the FBI field office in downtown Boston. He asked for the Organized Crime Division and was directed to Special Agent Monica Reeves. Agent Reeves was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and an aura of competence. She listened to Liam's story without interrupting, reviewing the evidence his team had gathered. "This is substantial," she said finally. "We've been trying to build a case against Victor Castillo for years, but witnesses are too afraid to talk. This," she tapped the files, "this is exactly what we need." "How fast can you move?" Liam asked. "Depends. Do you have the witness?" "Maria Santos. Will she testify?" "Yes." Liam had already convinced Maria, had offered her protection and relocation. "She'll testify. Then we can move fast. Maybe 2 weeks to get warrants and coordinate with local police. We'll need to verify which officers are clean. Troy Baker has custody of 2 children." Liam's voice was urgent. "Catherine Miller's twins. If he suspects we're coming, we'll extract them safely." Agent Reeves' voice was firm. That's priority. 1. Get the children to safety. Arrest Troy and his associates. Dismantle the organization. Catherine is in Troy's house. She went back because he threatened to destroy me if she didn't. Agent Reeves looked at Liam for a long moment. You love her. Yes. Trust me. We'll get her out. Both her and the children. I want to be there. Liam said, when you raid. I want to be there. Mr. Beckham, that's not protocol. I don't care about protocol. Liam leaned forward. I'll sign anything. Waive any liability. But I'm going to be there when you get Catherine and those babies out. Agent Reeves studied him, then nodded. Okay, but you follow our lead. No hero stunts. Agreed. Over the next 2 weeks, Liam barely slept. He coordinated with the FBI, made sure Maria Santos was in protective custody, hired the best lawyers in the country to ensure Troy and Victor Castillo would never see freedom again. And every night, he thought about Catherine, wondered if she was okay, if Troy was hurting her, if she thought Liam had forgotten about her. Hold on, he whispered into the darkness. Just hold on a little longer. Catherine's first week back in Troy's house was a carefully orchestrated exercise in breaking her spirit. Troy didn't hit her immediately. He was too smart for that. Instead, he used psychological torture, isolation, control. He took away every shred of autonomy she'd regained during her months with Liam. She wasn't allowed to leave the house, wasn't allowed to have a phone, wasn't allowed to see the twins except for 1 hour each day, and only if she'd been sufficiently pleasant. Pleasant meant smiling when Troy's associates visited, cooking meals without complaint, never questioning, never arguing, becoming the perfect, submissive wife Troy had always wanted. Catherine did it all, smiled until her face hurt, obeyed every order, swallowed her rage and her grief and her terror, because every hour of compliance bought her 1 hour with Lily and Leo. The twins were suffering too. Lily had become withdrawn, rarely smiling. Leo cried constantly, and Troy refused to take him for his follow-up cardiology appointment. He's fine, Troy snapped when Catherine asked. Stop being dramatic. But Catherine could see Leo struggling. His color wasn't as good. His breathing seemed labored. He needed his medication adjusted, needed monitoring. But Troy held all the power, and Catherine was helpless. The bruises started in week 2. Catherine was preparing dinner when she accidentally burned the chicken. Troy smelled it from the living room and came into the kitchen. What did you do? I'm sorry. The oven temperature was higher than I thought. I'll make something else. Troy grabbed her arm, his fingers digging in hard enough to leave marks. You can't do anything right, can you? Catherine bit back a response. Getting defensive only made it worse. Answer me. Troy's grip tightened. No. Catherine forced the word out. I'm sorry. You should be. He shoved her into the counter. The edge caught her ribs, and Catherine gasped in pain. Clean this up. Order takeout. And, Catherine, don't burn anything again. He left, and Catherine sagged against the counter, tears streaming down her face. She was back in hell, after 3 months of safety, of healing, of believing things could be different. She was right back where she'd started. That night, Troy locked her in the guest room again. Catherine lay on the thin mattress and thought about Liam, wondered if he'd gotten her letter, if he'd moved on, like she'd asked, if he'd forgotten about the broken woman and her babies. She hoped he had, hoped he was happy, because one of them deserved to be. By week 3, Catherine was losing hope. The bruises were multiplying. Troy's temper was getting shorter. And worst of all, Leo was getting sicker. Please, Catherine begged one morning, let me take him to the doctor, just to check up, to make sure his heart is okay. His heart is fine. Liam paid for surgery. The least we can do is make sure he's healing properly. Troy's face went dark at the mention of Liam's name. You don't get to say his name in my house. Understand? Catherine nodded, terrified. Good. Troy grabbed her throat, not squeezing hard enough to choke, but enough to make his point. You're mine, Catherine. Not his. Mine. And you better start acting like it. He released her and walked away. Catherine touched her throat, feeling the phantom pressure of his fingers. She was trapped, completely, utterly trapped. That night was the worst. Troy came to the guest room after the twins were asleep. Catherine knew what was coming, knew there was nothing she could do to stop it. "You've been back 3 weeks," Troy said, standing in the doorway. "I think you've earned your way back into our bedroom." Catherine's stomach turned. "Please, I'm not ready. You don't get to decide what you're ready for." Troy stepped into the room. "I decide." Catherine backed away. "Troy, please, stop being difficult." He grabbed her wrist, yanked her toward him. "You're my wife. Start acting like it." What happened next was a violation Catherine would spend years trying to forget. When Troy finally left, locking the door behind him, Catherine curled into a ball and sobbed. This was her life now. This was all it would ever be. She thought about trying to escape again, but Troy's security was too tight. And even if she got out, where would she go? She couldn't go back to Liam. Troy would destroy him. She had no money, no resources, no hope. For the first time since that night in the rain, Catherine thought about giving up, just accepting that this was her fate, enduring until Troy finally killed her, which seemed inevitable at this point. But then she thought about Lily and Leo, about protecting them, about surviving long enough to see them grow up, even if it was in Troy's house, even if it was in constant fear. So she didn't give up. She endured. One more day, and then another, and another. She didn't know that rescue was coming, that even as she suffered, Liam and the FBI were building a case that would bring down Troy and everyone he worked for. She didn't know that in 3 days everything would change. The FBI raid was scheduled for dawn on a Tuesday morning. Liam had barely slept the night before. He sat in the FBI staging area, watching agents check weapons and review the operation plan. Agent Reeves had been clear. His job was to stay in the command vehicle until the house was secured. Then he could go in. Liam had agreed, but they both knew he was lying. At 5:30 a.m., the teams moved into position. Liam watched through the vehicle's monitors as agents surrounded Troy's house. SWAT teams at every exit, snipers on nearby roofs, Child Protective Services waiting to take custody of the twins. Everything was ready. At 5:47 a.m., Agent Reeves gave the order. Go, go, go. The front door exploded inward. Agents poured into the house, shouting, "FBI, get on the ground. Hands where I can see them." Liam heard chaos through the radio. Officers identifying themselves. Troy's voice, furious and threatening. The sound of someone being wrestled to the ground. "We have the suspect in custody." An agent's voice crackled over the radio. "Copy that." Agent Reeves responded. "Status on the woman and children? Searching now." Liam's hands clenched. "Come on." Them. Second floor clear. Twins located in the nursery. Both appear unharmed. "Thank God," Liam breathed. Master bedroom. Another voice. "We've got her. She's hurt. We need medical." Liam was out of the vehicle and running before he consciously decided to move. Agents tried to stop him, but he pushed past, taking the porch steps 2 at a time. Inside, the house was swarming with FBI. Troy was face down on the living room floor, hands cuffed behind his back, screaming about lawyers and rights and police brutality. Liam ignored him completely and ran upstairs. He found Catherine in a bedroom, being examined by a paramedic. Her face was bruised, one eye swollen shut. Her lip was split. Fingerprint bruises circled her throat. "Catherine." Liam's voice broke. Her good eye found him. For a moment, she just stared like he was a ghost. Then tears spilled down her battered face. "Liam." He crossed the room and pulled her into his arms as gently as he could, mindful of her injuries. She collapsed against him, sobbing. "I've got you," he whispered. "You're safe now." "I've got you." The twins. Catherine's voice was desperate. "They're okay. CPS has them. They're going to check them over, make sure they're healthy. Then you'll get them back. Troy is going to prison for the rest of his life. Him and everyone he works for." Liam pulled back enough to look at her face, his heart breaking at the damage. "I found out who killed Brittany." It was Troy's organization. Victor Castillo ordered it. Troy was there, Catherine. He knew about it. Catherine's face crumpled. I'm so sorry. I brought this into your life. Your wife died because of these people, and I— Stop. Liam cupped her face carefully, avoiding the bruises. You didn't bring this into my life. You gave me a reason to finally get justice. Gave me a reason to fight instead of just existing in my grief. His voice cracked. You saved me, Catherine. You and Lily and Leo. You saved me. She kissed him then. A gentle, careful kiss that tasted like tears and blood and hope. I love you, she whispered against his lips. I love you too. So damn much. The paramedic cleared his throat. I need to take her to the hospital. Get her checked out properly. I'm going with her, Liam said. It wasn't a question. Catherine's injuries were extensive but not life-threatening. Bruised ribs, a split lip, contusions on her face and throat, and psychological trauma that would take years to heal. But she was alive. She was free. CPS brought Lily and Leo to the hospital that afternoon. Both twins had been examined and cleared. They were underweight and showed signs of neglect, but nothing that couldn't be fixed with proper care. When Catherine saw them, she burst into tears. Lily and Leo reached for her, crying "Mama, Mama," and Catherine held them like she'd never let go. Liam stood back, giving them space, but Leo reached for him too, babbling, and Liam's heart melted. He sat on the hospital bed beside Catherine, and they held the twins together. We're okay, Catherine whispered. We're all okay. Yes. Liam kissed her temple. We are. Over the next few months, the legal machinery ground forward. Troy Baker and Victor Castillo went to trial. The prosecution had mountains of evidence. Financial records showing money laundering, recordings of criminal conversations, testimony from Maria Santos about Brittany's murder, documentation of Troy's abuse and Leo's medical neglect. Liam spared no expense on the prosecution. He hired additional lawyers to assist the district attorney, made sure every I was dotted, every T crossed. Catherine had to testify. She sat on the witness stand for 3 days, recounting years of abuse. Troy's lawyers tried to discredit her, to paint her as unstable and vindictive. But Catherine held firm. She looked Troy in the eye and told the truth about the beatings, the control, the rape, Leo's neglect, everything. I'm not afraid of you anymore, she said when Troy's lawyer asked why she'd gone back to him. I went back to protect someone I love, to save him from your client's threats. That's not weakness. That's strength. The jury agreed. Troy Baker was convicted on charges of domestic violence, child neglect, conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, and a dozen other counts. Life in prison without possibility of parole. Victor Castillo got the same sentence. When the verdicts were read, Catherine collapsed in relief. Liam held her, and they both cried. It's really over, Catherine whispered. It's really over, Liam confirmed. But the legal battles weren't quite finished. Catherine filed to have the original custody ruling overturned. With Troy's criminal convictions and documentation of abuse, it was almost a formality. The judge awarded her full custody of Lily and Leo. Troy's parental rights were permanently terminated. Catherine also filed a civil lawsuit against Troy for damages. The jury awarded her $10 million, though most of Troy's assets had already been seized by the government. Still, there was enough to ensure the twins' future was secure. And finally, Liam filed for permission to adopt Lily and Leo. It wasn't standard procedure to allow adoption when the biological mother was alive and had custody. But Liam's lawyers argued that he'd been acting as the children's father for months, that he'd paid for Leo's life-saving surgery, that both twins called him Dada. The family court judge agreed to consider it. Through all of this, Catherine was healing. She started therapy for PTSD, working through years of trauma with a psychologist who specialized in domestic violence. It was hard, painful work. There were setbacks. Days when she couldn't get out of bed, nights when nightmares made her afraid to sleep. But slowly, gradually, she got better. Liam was patient. He never pushed her, never demanded more than she could give. He just showed up every day and loved her. 6 months after Troy's conviction, Catherine woke up one morning and realized something. She'd slept through the night without nightmares. The first time in months. She found Liam in the kitchen, making breakfast while the twins played in their high chairs. He looked up when she entered and smiled. "Good morning." "Good morning." Catherine kissed him. Then she kissed Lily and Leo, who babbled happily. "How did you sleep?" Liam asked. "Actually," Catherine smiled, "really well." "Good." Liam pulled her close. "I'm glad." Catherine looked around the kitchen, at this man who'd saved her life, at the children who were thriving, at the home they'd built together, and she realized she was happy. Actually, genuinely happy. "Liam," she said, "I'm ready." "Ready for what?" "This." Catherine gestured around them. "For us. For a real future together. I've been holding back because I was scared. Scared that I wasn't healed enough. Scared that I'd bring my trauma into our relationship. But I realize now that healing doesn't mean being perfect. It means being willing to try." Liam set down the spatula and gave Catherine his full attention. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying, I love you. I want to build a life with you. I want to marry you and raise these kids together and be a family. Not because I need you, but because I choose you." Liam's eyes were suspiciously bright. "I choose you too. Every day. For the rest of my life. So ask me." Catherine smiled. "What?" "Ask me to marry you." Liam laughed, then got down on one knee right there in the kitchen, while Lily and Leo watched with wide eyes. "Catherine Miller, will you marry me? Will you let me be your partner, your equal, your husband? Will you let me love you and these beautiful children for the rest of my life?" "Yes." Catherine was crying now. "Yes, yes, yes." He kissed her while the twins cheered, even though they didn't understand what was happening. They just knew Mama was happy, and that made them happy too. Liam proposed officially a week later, with a ring and everything. They were in the garden, the same place where Catherine had played with the twins that day the investigators served her papers. The place that had been the beginning of her nightmare. Liam was determined to make it the beginning of something beautiful instead. He got down on one knee again, this time with Lily and Leo helping. They brought him dandelions they'd picked, placing them in his hair while he tried to be serious. "Catherine Miller," Liam said, laughing as Leo tried to climb on his back. "You and these babies saved my life. You gave me purpose when I had none. Love when I thought I'd never feel it again. A family when I thought I'd lost my chance." Catherine's eyes filled with tears. "I know you've been hurt. I know trust is hard. I know you need to feel independent and strong and capable, which you are, so capable, so strong." Liam pulled out a ring, a simple diamond, elegant and beautiful. "But I'm asking if you'll let me stand beside you anyway. Not above you, not controlling you, just beside you. As your partner, your equal, your husband." "Yes," Catherine whispered. "Yes, yes, yes." Lily and Leo cheered. Liam slipped the ring on her finger, and Catherine pulled him up into a kiss. They married in late spring, in the same garden where he'd proposed. It was small, just close friends, family, and a few FBI agents who'd helped bring down Troy's organization. Catherine wore a simple white dress that made her look radiant. Liam wore a suit and cried through his vows. Lily and Leo were flower girl and ring bearer respectively. Lily took her job very seriously, carefully dropping petals along the aisle. Leo got distracted halfway and sat down to examine a particularly interesting flower, causing everyone to laugh. When the officiant declared them married, Catherine kissed Liam like he was her whole world. Because he was. The reception was joyful. There was dancing and laughter and cake. Lily and Leo stole frosting when they thought no one was looking. Mrs. Patterson cried happy tears. Agent Reeves gave a speech about courage and second chances. As the sun set over the garden, Liam and Catherine stood together, watching their family and friends celebrate. "I never thought I'd be this happy," Catherine said softly. "Neither did I." Liam pulled her close. "But here we are. Here we are." Catherine agreed. 2 years later, Catherine stood in the nursery of their home, rocking their newborn daughter while watching Liam play with Lily and Leo in the garden below. They'd named the baby Hope, because that's what they'd found in each other when they'd both given up. The twins were 3 now, healthy and thriving. Leo's heart was strong. He'd just had his annual cardiology checkup, and Dr. Clark declared him completely healthy. Lily was starting preschool in the fall, already excited about making new friends. Catherine had finished her degree and was working as an advocate for domestic violence survivors. She spoke at shelters, helped women navigate the legal system, used her story to give others hope that escape was possible. Liam supported her work completely. He'd funded a new women's shelter in Brittany's name, a place where women and children could be safe while rebuilding their lives. Catherine's mother had come back into her life, reconciling after years of estrangement. She was a devoted grandmother now, visiting weekly to spoil her grandchildren. Everything had come full circle in the most beautiful way. Catherine's phone buzzed with a text from one of the women she was helping. "Thank you for believing in me. Your story gave me the courage to leave." Catherine smiled and typed back, "You gave yourself courage. I just showed you it was possible. You're going to be okay." She looked down at Hope, at this perfect little girl who'd been conceived in love and safety, who would grow up surrounded by family, protected by 2 parents who would die before letting anyone hurt her. "You're so lucky," Catherine whispered to Hope. "You'll never know how lucky, but that's okay. That's how it should be." Liam appeared in the doorway, his shirt covered in grass stains from playing with the twins. "Need help?" he asked. "Always," Catherine smiled, because that was the truth she'd learned. Needing help didn't make you weak. Accepting it didn't make you dependent. Love wasn't about one person saving another. It was about 2 people choosing to stand together, to fight together, to build something beautiful together, and that's exactly what they'd done. 5 years after that rainy November night, Catherine and Liam sat in their garden watching their children play. Lily and Leo were 5 now, starting kindergarten in the fall. Hope was 2, toddling around and getting into everything. It was a perfect spring evening, the kind that made you grateful to be alive. "Do you ever think about that night?" Catherine asked. "The storm?" "Every day." Liam took her hand. "Best decision I ever made." "Stopping for you. Best decision I ever made was saying yes." Catherine squeezed his hand. "Trusting you. We saved each other," Liam said. "Yes," Catherine agreed. "We did." As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Catherine thought about how far she'd come. From homeless and terrified to safe and loved. From victim to survivor to thriver. She'd built a life she never thought possible, with a man who proved that not all love was violent, with children who would grow up knowing they were cherished, with work that gave her purpose. She was happy, actually, genuinely, permanently happy. And it had all started with a stranger who stopped in the rain when he didn't have to, who gave without expecting anything back, who showed her that kindness still existed in the world. "Mama." Hope tugged on Catherine's sleeve. "Play?" "Of course, baby." Catherine scooped her daughter up, making her giggle. Liam gathered Lily and Leo, and they all played together as the stars came out. A family, complete and whole and full of love. Sometimes the worst storms bring us exactly where we need to be. Sometimes the people we meet in our darkest moments become our greatest blessings. And sometimes love means being brave enough to accept help, strong enough to stand alone, and wise enough to know the difference. This is Catherine and Liam's story, a testament to survival, second chances, and the transformative power of kindness. Catherine's story might seem extraordinary, but thousands of women face impossible choices every day. They survive abuse. They protect their children against all odds. They find the courage to escape and rebuild. If you're in that situation right now, please know you're not alone. Help exists. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7. You deserve safety. You deserve love. You deserve a life free from fear. And if you know someone who's suffering, reach out. Sometimes all it takes is one person saying, "I believe you. I'll help you. You're not alone." Catherine found her happy ending because Liam stopped in the rain, but also because she was brave enough to accept help, strong enough to fight for her children, courageous enough to believe she deserved better. You deserve better too. Whatever you're going through, whatever darkness you're facing, there is hope. There is a way forward. There are people who will help if you let them. Now, about that title. Did Catherine rob Liam blind? Not in the way you might have thought. She didn't steal his possessions. She didn't take his money or his valuables. She stole something far more precious. She stole his heart, his loneliness, his numbness, his grief. She robbed him of his isolation and gave him a family. She took his empty mansion and filled it with laughter and love and life. She stole his resignation to a half-lived existence and replaced it with purpose and joy. Sometimes the best thefts are the ones that leave you richer than before. Liam gave Catherine his keys in a rainstorm, and in return, she gave him everything that mattered. Love, family, healing, hope. They saved each other, and that's the most beautiful kind of robbery there is. If this story touched you, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments what resonated with you. What moment made you feel something? What lesson you're taking away? If you loved this journey of courage and second chances, subscribe to Love in Twilights with Dr. Phillips. Every week, I bring you stories that will make you believe in the power of kindness, the possibility of healing, and the reality of happy endings. Hit that like button if this story moved you. Share it with someone who needs to hear that escape is possible, that healing is real, that love can be gentle and safe and beautiful. This is Dr. Phillips, reminding you that your story isn't over yet. The storm you're in today might be leading you to your miracle tomorrow. Kindness is never wasted. Love is always worth fighting for. And sometimes, the people we help end up saving us. Thank you for listening to Catherine and Liam's story. Thank you for caring about their journey. Thank you for believing in second chances, because they do exist. Catherine and Liam are proof. Until next time, remember that you are stronger than you know, braver than you believe, and worthy of every good thing life has to offer. The rain will stop, the storm will pass, and on the other side, there might just be someone waiting with keys to a better life. All you have to do is be brave enough to say yes.